See if this works. We are live. You're live. Greetings, everyone, and grand day. What we are going to be exposing here today is of utmost importance to everyone. This is truly a momentous occasion. Hold on just a second. We're going to see if we can get something on the screen for you. All right, here we go. Boom. Doug, would you like to go check the volume on that, on the YouTube? Make sure that we're 5x5, that everybody's hearing us.
Yeah, give me a minute.
All right, appreciate it. All right, folks, we're going to open this up for you. We're going to read this document onto the public record here on YouTube. And this is some of the most important information for everyone worldwide that is living under the iron fist of the wealth extracting legal names that have been created by the Gregorian elite system under the Rothschild Vatican banking dynasty. And I'm not going to get into the temporal jurisdiction side of things right now. I'm only going to go through this document with the material facts of record, the file registration date versus the biological date of birth. In the comment section, I'm going
to record, the file registration date versus the
loud
biological
and
date
clear.
of birth.
Loud and clear.
Sorry about that.
Nope, you're good. That tells me all I need.
You got good audio.
We got good audio. We are 5x5. And we are going to show you some hard-hitting documents here. And all I can tell you is share this with everyone you know. If you're one of those that your family has mocked you, ridiculed you, called you, because hold on just a second. Oh, man. This thing, everything's getting touchy all of a sudden. All right. Give me just a moment. We're going to get all this put in here for you so that you'll know where to go. And there's some questions you'll need to answer to get into the group. Let me just give me a moment here. We are trying to navigate this thing as quickly as possible so we can get into the document. And all the documents that you're going to see here in this video, you will be able to come and answer the questions for the group, get in there, and you'll be able to read what's going on. And I can tell you that this information is being sent all the way to the top. And what do I mean by that? This is being served to the military, the Department of Justice, the Department of Homeland Security. This is no small matter. And I'm doing my part to try to bring it to your attention. Your part is to bring it to other people's attention, to wrap your mind around what you're about to hear, what you're about to see, what this exposes about the manner in which wealth is being extracted from you. And I use that term carefully because in legalese, you or your is a debtor under the bankruptcy. But we're not going to get into that part right now. Let us, because the legal name is not you. That's a very good point. So I can get a better view of the document so I can read it into the record here. All right. So this public notice material facts of record, file registration date versus a biological date of birth, temporal jurisdiction, and the legal name separation. What every living man and woman must know. This notice is issued as a matter of public record and general awareness. The information contained herein is based on official documentary evidence, established legal doctrine, commercial acknowledgement by federally regulated institutions, and historical fact. Every person who has been issued a birth certificate, driver's license, state ID, or social security number is directly affected by the material facts disclosed in this notice. The two dates on the birth certificate. Every birth certificate issued in the United States contains ever been issued in Turtle Island, North America. And this also includes 166 other countries, Canada being Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Switzerland, Italy. There's 166 countries that this actually applies to. Anywhere where they're using legal names. And we're not going to get into the folks that system. We're just going to expose what's going on with this system. It figures now they're going to start getting rowdy back there. All right, so let's try to get through this pretty quickly here. The two dates on the birth certificate. You have a biological birth of a living man or woman, or a living baby boy or baby girl. And then you have a date filed and date registered, the date the state created the registered legal name entity. Okay. The biological date of birth belonging to the living man or woman with a living soul. The date filed, that's the file registration date you'll find on any birth certificate, pretty much. There are some states that are trying to hide it now. Belongs to the state created legal name entity. Date of birth is a natural event, precedes the state. The date filed is the administrative event created by the state. These two dates represent two distinct entities, not truly entities. We really should do a correction to the document, but it represents two distinct differences. The commingling of these dates on the driver's license, state ID, and other commercial instruments constitutes a material misrepresentation of the legal identity. The legal name is not you. This is what you see them denying in the courts and bragging about how they handled someone they want to refer to as a sovereign citizen. The legal name appearing on all capital letters on your birth certificate, driver's license, government documents is a state-created legal entity, not the living man or woman. It is not your name. The state subcorporation created that entity, and they've tied it to you by the commingling of the biological date of birth that does not align with the legal entity. It was not created on the same day that you were born of your mom, or as I like to say, popped out your mama. The distinction is the foundation in law. A natural man, a living human being with inherent rights, predates the state legal person, a state-created entity, corporation, trust, or organization that exists only within the legal system that created it. The legal name was created by the state, not by the living man or woman, and not by your mom and dad. I don't like the word parents, but we haven't tweaked this document just yet. He who creates owns. The state created the legal name. The state owns the legal name, and they also own the debt. So when you hear anyone referring to something like the taxpayer is not the man or woman. The taxpayer is the state created legal name. The debt obligation actually belongs to the state subcorporation and the United States corporation over there in the District of Criminals under the bankruptcy. The debts do not belong to us. We are the creditors, and we are supposed to be the beneficiaries under the bankruptcy because they took away what? They took away the gold. They took away the real money. You can't pay a debt with a debt, folks. And these are debt notes. If you look at the money, you're looking at debt notes. That's what they are. You can't pay a debt with a debt. Just look it up. Do your own research. Let's shift gears here. Unfortunately, wow, why did this shift? I can tell you there's an immense amount of panic going through the system right now. And when I tell you that this is being delivered to the very top, it is absolutely being delivered to the very top. Okay, let's break this down here a little bit. Let's see where we're at. All right. The fraud of the commingling. When the state issues a driver's license or state ID using your biological date of birth as the date of birth for the legal name entity, it is committing a material misrepresentation. Here is what the official birth certificate actually shows. And I'll leave this up for a moment. That way, for a lot of you, you can read this document on your screen at your own pace. Okay? But this has been documented and confirmed. For example, TransUnion, a major federally regulated credit reporting agency, upon presentation of an official birth certificate, formally corrected its records to reflect the file registration date as the correct date for the legal entity. Who I have here with me today is Douglas Joseph, who has made more corrections. In fact, all corrections across the board. Douglas, would you like to share with the folks all of the agencies that you've made corrections with?
Oh, sure. Well, I started with the three main credit bureaus, TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. And then I expanded it to some lesser known, they're actually called repositories, credit repositories, check systems, which the banks use, Innovis. There might be a few others out there, but the main data aggregators are Thomson Reuters and LexisNexis. And data aggregators, what they do is they throw a big net and they gather all information from every source they have contracts with, primarily the big three that I mentioned in the beginning. And they have contracts with government and other corporate entities to provide this data. So we have the right to request them, and you should never have to pay anything to get them to send you a report. There's laws that require them. I want to say it's every 30 days you can request one. But anyway, the data aggregators are the ones that the courts have contracts with. LexisNexis is a huge one. And what they are, they're essentially involved in informatics, which is the science of data collection. So it's not just personal information, it's all kinds of records. So when they do a background check on you, they're running you through that LexisNexis system. The NCIC obviously has a connection with all the DMVs as well. So does Thomson Reuters and LexisNexis. So if there's any kind of a conflict with that information, they have to produce that to you, but they're not required to do anything about it unless you bring it to their attention. Once they become aware of it.
Let's stop for a minute. LexisNexis is an aggregator for law enforcement that I've seen in what I'm doing in my research on my side. Let's tap on Social Security for a moment and share with people how long it's taken you to get them to accept the truth and stop committing fraud by commingling the wrong date of birth.
So they've got two dates of birth. Social for one name. I found Thomson Reuters and LexisNexis both had 2 dates of birth. The credit bureaus, when they correct the date of birth, they get rid of the old one. So it's gone. So the aggregators, all they have to do is go in and do another sweep on that account, and their software is supposed to correct any misinformation that's in there, but it does not do that when it comes to personal information. Records and what have you, if there's a update on a record of some kind, like a court case, it automatically replaces any of the data that's in there with the new updated information, which supersedes it. So the problem with personal information is that they will not update it unless you force them to.
Well, and let's do a simple clarification here for those listening. What we're talking about is a realignment of the proper information, because for them, for the system, for the corporate system, and we're talking about from top to bottom, nobody's left out here, including the light company, the mortgages, the car loans, because you're not borrowing, you're the creditor that's actually creating the credit, and then they're just loaning, they're getting you to pay back the credit that you just created. And we're not going to get into that part of it, but if a major commercial institution accepts the correction, every other institution has no lawful basis to refuse it. I'm turning back to the document right now. So what comes next is opening your eyes to temporal jurisdiction. This is a hidden layer of control. Every legal instrument, contract, court date, tax deadline, and government document operates under a specific time system known as the Gregorian calendar. You'll open up your Windows operating system and look at time, region, and date, and you'll see calendars as though it's pluralized. And you open that up, you're going to find only one choice under the digital realm, because this is the Unix epochs. Not going to tap into that very much right now. You can come into the group hidden from you. Okay, this is a hidden jurisdiction known as temporal jurisdiction. And I'm gonna give you an example for the history of this country. The founding documents, the Declaration of Independence, the Articles of Confederation, the U.S. domain, explicitly Gregorian ecclesiastical time. When we tell you all roads lead to Rome, it is no joke. Okay, and the founders declared political sovereignty in 1776, but they did not declare temporal sovereignty. Every legal name entity through the birth, that means that even a certificate of live birth with what you would consider a proper name in upper lower case has been captured by commerce, as well as the all caps name, the legal name, the entity that you see has been captured by commerce. This is how massive this fraud is, and okay, and he who controls the framework and enforces an enforcement of the timekeeping within a legal or ecclesiastical order exercises temporal jurisdiction. And for what's this mean for you? I'm going to open this up a little bit so people get a better look at it on their screen. Every instrument using your biological date of birth as a date of birth for a legal name entity contains a material error. Commingles the living man or woman with the state-created legal fiction. It creates a presumed identity merger without your knowledge or informed consent, such as debt, liability, and statutory obligations to the living man through the legal name. It compels you to attest under penalty of perjury to the information that misrepresents your true identity. We've thrown up a Florida statute 322.212. It's processing false information or official documents. It violates the Real ID Act's own source document verification requirements. The very standards of the Real ID say it must use the person's date of birth. Research, look this stuff up. I'm not telling you just to believe what you're seeing. you're going to confirm everything that you're hearing and seeing in this video right now. Okay. Contra proferendum, an invocation of contra proferendum. All ambiguity in the birth registration instrument drafted slowly by the state, which the state is a subcorporation of the United States Corporation, must be construed against the state, not the living man or woman. Void ab initio, this is the big one. Any contract or obligation created without full disclosure in voluntary agreement is void from the beginning as if it never existed. Now, what does that mean for you today? While you're seeing, hey, gosh, I've got this driver's license and it's got my Gregorian biological date of birth commingled with that state created entity. Well, the continued use, that's the law of necessity. Until which time that enough people see what's going on here and it's brought out in their county commission, city council, school boards, mayors, their governors, all of these people running the corporate structure for their own unjust enrichment. Off of who? Off the backs of all the people that have been commingled with these legal entities. The legal entity is actually the responsible entity for all the debts, not you and me. That is how this system was supposed to be as trustees of the public charitable trust. All public employees are supposed to be trustees of the public charitable trust. But what have they been doing? Well, while they're already getting paid through the entity, they're getting you to pay too. That is the reality of what's going on all over the world, and why the wealthier just keep getting wealthier and we just keep getting poorer, because this was designed to extract wealth from us and make sure that we stayed poor, desperate, struggling, when truly we're all the creditors. And I like to put it as we should have been living a sign and drive during this Lincoln. Do your own research, folks. If you're just, and now try to find the evidence that a legal name entity was created the moment. We'll all be here waiting for you to bring that evidence forward, and it will be a very long time, because you will never be able to find evidence of a legal name that was created on your date of birth. And it's a Gregorian date of birth. We're just not going to get into that part right now, but it's going to be a very important connect. You come into the group, the Facebook group, file registration versus biological date of birth and temporal. An eye pull and a quick education on exactly what's being spoken about here in this video. So the law of necessity kicks in at this point, because when you go down to the DMV, they will look at you, their eyes will turn big as saucers, and they say, well, we can't put the correct date on there. They're telling me, because I've already done the research and the investigation and been to the DMV, and the supervisor said, committed perjury. Everybody that has a driver's license committed perjury. Don't you care? Well, I'm just doing my job. You wonder why every cop on the street, if you don't have an ID, what do they want? What's your name? Oh, but it's not your name they're looking for. It's a legal name they're looking for. Okay, that's first trick question number one. And then what do they want to know next? What should they have the authority to do the things that they're doing to people out on the street? This is where that thrown off from this information is key for them, that they're doing, committing fraud, basically creating surety and debtor out of the American people and all over the world. This is not statistics and the registrars in this corporate system. Know it, to the Rothschild Vatican banking dynasty and their temporal jurisdiction. So a natural and legal person distinction, the foundational in Roman law, common law, and civil law systems globally, the living man or woman is not the legal person. We should have never, this should have never existed in our lives. What we have in place right now, and what, once enough people see this and start bringing this forward, it's going to force the system to stop committing fraud and using a misalignment of the information to create surety and debtors out of us to extract wealth from us, that you the creditor, need a credit score. When you're the creditor, when you're the one, when your signature and that social security number is what is creating the credit, why would you need a credit score? And Doug.
Oh, it's unscorable.
Pardon me. And so is mine, because I've made a correction to TransUnion, and there's no longer a credit score available. How can the creditor have a credit score? It can't.
Exactly.
So if you want to know how big the bamboozling is and why they have to keep, because this is the Achilles heel to their system. Now we're going to move to another document.
Well, wait, before you go.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
On to something else.
While I'm moving, you go ahead.
So what it does when you correct that date of birth, any derogatory information, any credit information that's on there is essentially subject to being purged. All you have to do is dispute it. So they're going to leave it there as long as you don't say anything. But as soon as you dispute it, I've had it happen within, that's going to involve attorneys. All collection bureaus collect. The importance of this is borne out with respect to if you have a debt and it's on your credit, then dispute it. Once you've corrected the date of birth, they cannot collect because there's no match. The date of birth that they have in their system doesn't match the date of birth that's in the credit bureaus. So it goes away. IRS liens disappeared all at once. There were several different ones, but they all went away in one foul swoop. What did I do? I just disputed the public record information, which they gather from the county recorder. So the counties are the ones that record the lien, but it's not really a lien. It's a notice of a lien because we lien that name to begin with. It's a notice of a lien, though, so it gives the appearance of a lien. And if you try to buy a house or get credit of any kind, it's going to pop up. Well, when you correct this information, that all goes away.
So now
by getting a secured credit card, and of course use.
Let's hold on for a minute. Let's try to. Right now, we need to get people's eyes on which what you're saying about the attorneys plays into exactly where we're at right now, which is the notice of attorney malfeasance. This is right. Deliberate silence, breach of fiduciary duty, and unjust enrichment arising from the failure to inform clients of the biological date, file registration date distinction. This is, folks, if you're not realizing how big what you're seeing here is, then you're not realizing what you're looking at. I'm telling you, this is being served all the way to the top. This is being served to Department of Homeland Security, the Department of Defense,
U.S. Treasury.
U.S. Treasury. Everybody's getting the memo right now because we're sick and tired of the fraud, and we've discovered how they're committing the fraud, how they're basically bending us over to be debtor and surety for their unjust enrichment. The reason why
these are primarily attorneys, remember, because they did all this.
So the nature of this notice, and I want you to listen carefully, and I'm sure for some of you, you're reading on the screen what you're looking at. I notice this notice of date of birth of the living man and the file registration date of the state-created legal entity. Here got my little girl in the background. Every licensed attorney who has appeared in court of Admiralty Maritime Jurisdiction, which is every court operating under a gold fringe flag. All right, hold on just a minute, baby girl. No. It's raining outside, baby. You can't go out right now. She's not going to want to give up. Every licensed attorney who has appeared in court of maritime jurisdiction, which is every court, knows or has the professional obligation to know the all capital legal name. The biological date and the file registration date are distinct dates on the birth certificate. The co-mingling of these two dates drags the living man into admiralty jurisdiction without disclosure and without consent. A deliberate failure to inform clients of this distinction while continuing to bill those clients for representation within the very jurisdiction that full disclosure would have eliminated constitutes malfeasance, a breach of fiduciary duty.
All right.
Deal with her.
Okay, so getting back to the attorney's involvement in all this, whenever there's a collection to serve that person, they won't be able to, because part of due process for a process server is to do a search in the system and primarily the DMV and find a match. They have to have a state issued ID / driver's license that they can connect to. So when the server is going out there, be it a sheriff or a private company, they know who they're looking for. They have a copy of that with them. This is why that state ID is so crucial. They can't use a passport. They may have access to passport information, but a passport is not an ID. It's travel papers. I know this for a fact. I had a credit card that I used to go to India. I had hip surgery in 2019. I didn't pay that debt. It had a zero balance. I bought the plane tickets. I had a resort reservation for 2 months. I had the surgery paid for, all of it on this card. That was 2019. In 2024, I got a knock on the door. I didn't answer it. It was a sheriff. And so he just taped the notice to the side of the house. And when I looked at the notice, I waited till he left, of course, looked at the notice. It was a process serving company out of Arizona. I called them, took about 15, 20 minutes, told her, you got the wrong person. You're not gonna find them in the account number at the top. I gave her that. She came back and said, you can throw that away.
All right, I'm going to need to wrap this up here because this ain't going to last much longer.
All right.
Yeah, it's raining outside. My little girl's piece of every attorney owes every client. Licensed attorneys are bound by the highest duty known in law. These duties are not optional and are not subject to selective applications based on the attorney's financial interests. The fiduciary duty, the highest duty known in law. Client interest placed above all other, including attorney's own financial interest without exception. Rule 1.1, these are bar rules, by the way. Attorneys must possess the legal knowledge and skill necessary to handle clients' matters, including knowledge of how legal name entities are created and dated. Rule 1.4, attorneys must keep client reasonably informed of all material facts affecting their legal position, including the consequence. Rule 1.7, conflict of interest. Attorneys cannot represent the client when representation is materially limited by attorney's own interest, including financial interest in maintaining court jurisdiction. Rule 1.3 is diligence. Attorneys must pursue clients' matter with reasonable diligence, including researching all available jurisdictional challenges. Rule 8.4 is misconduct. Conduct involving dishonesty, fraud, deceit, and misrepresentation. Professional misconduct, deliberate silence or material facts meets this definition. Duty of candor. Attorneys must not make false statements of material fact, and must not fail to disclose material facts when disclosure is necessary to avoid fraud upon the client. Folks, this is why when you come into court, state your name for the record, and normally the routine is state your date of birth for the record. They are tricking you into this position of volunteering to be a surety and debtor for their own unjust enrichment, for the bond creation, the bid bond, payment bond, performance bonds. Some of you may have never heard of this before. Do your own research. That's what I will tell you. When I go to the next page of this document here, I'll blow this up. I promise you, this is bigger than any story World Wide Web today. Bigger than anything you could possibly be looking at. This registration process. This is the most massive fraud being carried out worldwide than ever. That I would question their intent, and what their involvement in is some type of interest to want to try to disregard this, which they can't. The
financial interest.
Yeah, they have a financial interest. The facts speak for themselves. So attorneys are required to keep clients reasonably necessary to permit the client to make informed decisions. Failure to inform a client that a legal name entity bears a file registration date distinct from the biological date, that distinction affects the court's jurisdiction over the living man. Oh, you had a bad. This is where the very structure of the system is compromised at a point where it's
called an Achilles heel.
People that have truly done bad things to other people, property, or puppy, as someone I used to watch would say, Thorne Peters. They truly have not received a fair trial because there have been fraud. So what this really is directed at, though, is all of the men and women sitting in prisons that have no victims. They've never harmed anyone. They're there just because the state said you broke one of our rules. But they're the ones that have committed massive fraud by tying the man to the legal entity to be able to apply the rule in the first place. See, they call these legal names in legis. L-E-G-I-S, in legis. That goes back to Rome. But these in legis, well, legis is what? Legislation. Well, all legislation, if you read it, only applies to a person. And what is a person? A person is the legal entity. It is that legal name. It is not the man or woman. And they know that their gravy train is going to be and is being derailed right now by this information coming out. And anyone that snubs this information or tells you this doesn't matter, I would get as far away from them as I possibly could, because they're the ones that are going to be left on the train when it derails. And this is biblical.
It's already derailing.
It's derailing. And I can tell you that the lawyers are the ones that are warned in the Bible. However much faith you put in the scriptures and the gospel of truth, the lawyers are the ones being warned. You can't make this stuff up. A lawyer shall not represent a client if the misrepresentation is materially limited by the lawyer's client remaining subject to admiralty jurisdiction, remaining in the court proceedings, paying fines, requiring ongoing legal representation. The attorney has a direct and irreconcilable financial conflict of interest in disclosing the means by which the client could exit that jurisdiction entirely. This conflict is not hypothetical. It is structural. Every bar member who appears in admiralty court on behalf of a client while knowing of the date distinction and remaining silent has a financial interest in knowing their true legal position. It is professional misconduct for a lawyer to engage in conduct involving dishonesty, fraud, deceit, or misrepresentation. Fraud does not require an affirmative false statement. Fraud by omission occurs when a party with a duty to disclose deliberately withholds material information that would have changed the other party's decision. Every attorney who has billed a client for representation in admiralty court while knowing of the biological date and file registration date distinction and deliberately withholding that information from the client has committed fraud by omission. The materiality of the omission is beyond question. The information would have changed every decision the client made about their legal proceeding. That's Rule 8.4, misconduct. So we're kind of going through the rules here. Rule 1.3 is diligence violated. A lawyer shall act with reasonable diligence and promptness in representing a client. The distinction between the biological date and file registration date is a matter of documented public record, visible on the face of the birth certificate itself. A diligent attorney researching all available defenses and jurisdictional challenges for their client would have identified this distinction. Failure to identify and present the distinction to the client, particularly in the proceeding where the client's liberty, property, or rights are at stake, constitutes a failure of diligence that every client is entitled to receive from their counsel. And folks, let me tell you, what brought me to researching was the judicial kidnapping of my son back in 2006. Okay? Or 2008, I'm sorry. In 2006, I was given custody. In 2008, he was kidnapped judicially on a paternity-related relief that had already been ruled on in 2006, where I was given custody. I'm going to try to nutshell this for you. Well, my brother-in-law was the undersheriff at the time, and I thought, well, I'll just, I know people here in town. This will get straightened out. No, it didn't. In fact, the fear of Francis King, the sitting administrator, or what people call judges, was so volatile, I could not get, and I didn't know about any of this at the time. So I want you to realize where I was in 2008 to where I am right now, looking at this mess and exposing it. I could not get a lawyer in the state of Florida to take the case. Every single one of them that I went and spoke to and showed them the evidence said the same thing. I'm not exposing the judge. I got a business to run. So here I was, stuck in this position where my son had been taken and given over to the mom who was being thrown out of her government apartment the very same weekend. Here, we're going to take your son from, and I had my home 12 years. I had a successful business. All that went right out the door. Here's my brother-in-law, who's the undersheriff, who's saying, I can't get involved. Wait a minute, you're the undersheriff. Who became the sitting Florida? You can look him up, because he got removed from his post by Rick Scott. We won't even get into that. But I'm just trying to lives of people, innocent people, who have harmed no one. The family court process, what they're doing in CPS, taking offspring from families that they shouldn't be taking them from because they're involved in child trafficking. The creation of these birth certificates. Go ahead, Doug. You want to add something?
I was just going to say, and they're enriching themselves at the same time.
Well, it's more than that. They're using those legal names to do your own research, folks. There's a trust sitting in the background, and it's to benefit nothing but the corporate system, the corporations, and the people working within this corporate system, and the lawyers, when it's supposed to be benefiting us. There shouldn't be millions of homeless men and women and offspring out on the streets. There shouldn't be our veterans who are duped into serving in the corporate military, who are now definitely having PTSD, realizing what they've been through, how they've been used, and then they're tossed out on the street. I can't even begin to express how ugly the situation is when you start seeing it for what it truly is and what they're truly doing and how they're truly doing it. All for their own enrichment, all the harm, injury, loss, the suffering, the stealing of homes, the stealing of assets, property, cars, your very offspring, that they're using these legal names to take your offspring from you for what? For a job, for a paycheck, for unjust enrichment, to tap into these trusts. Because, the foster care system gets tons of funding, but if you're having these financial troubles, you get nothing. So it's more profitable for them to take your offspring from you, put them into their system, because they're stealing all of this money from these trusts. There's three things that the Federal Reserve wanted to control: money printing, industrial else. Now, whether they have gatekeepers, and he has a gatekeeper on his own website, on his own media site, that's keeping this information from him. You know, I can't, all I can tell you is I've emailed this information, okay, to him, to a lot of people. And what have they done? Ignored it. I can tell you that a lieutenant colonel has emailed and served by registered mail, the information that you to the military, to the JAGS, to the DOD, the Department of Homeland Security, to everybody. And you know who's really being answered for this?
His last name is Vaughn, out of Arizona. He filed a voluntary dismissal. And so what that's telling you is that they could not find that person. They knew that I had corrected the date of birth, so they gave up. Right. Never came back.
So let's look at the criminal statutes potentially implicated. Beyond professional misconduct, the deliberate silence of attorneys who know the date distinction and continue to bill clients for services that perpetuate the client's subjugation to admiralty jurisdiction may implicate the following federal. Subsection 1341 is mail fraud, the use of the postal mail to collect fees obtained through deliberate omission of material facts affecting the client's legal position. And we're going to click back over here and get to the gritty of these violations. I mean, we already know they break their own rules. We already know that. Sorry, Facebook's getting a little buggy here. USC 3, wire fraud, use of an electronic communication, wire transfer, or digital billing to collect fees obtained through fraud by omission. 18 USC subsection 1346, honest service fraud, deprivation of the client's intangible right to honest service, the right to receive the full benefit of the attorney's fiduciary duty without concealment. 18 USC subsection 1581, peonage, holding a client in a condition of commercial servitude through debt obligations, fines, fees, court not have incurred had full disclosure been made. 18 USC 242, deprivation of rights under color of law, using the color of legal authority and professional licensure to deprive the living man of the right to know his true legal position and the challenge the court's jurisdiction. 18 USC subsection 1961, RICO, court officers constituting a pattern of racketeering activity, folks.
RICO.
This is what you're dealing with. This is what's being exposed in by the fraud. But to keep going along with it means, hey, I'm okay with this. And I'm telling you, Brian, here's the deal. A lot of his content. But when I put this in his lap, he completely locked up, shut down, and said, I'm not showing this to people. Delete laws. I've emailed this information to him. He's remained silent and has not shown anyone what's going on.
They're making money off
the chaos is all I can figure. Since they have a bar membership, there is no license to practice law. Practicing in the United States, every bar member is an officer of the court. This status creates a foundational, irreconcilable conflict of interest that operates in every client relationship. As an officer of the court, the attorney's first duty is to the court, not to the client. That's in jurisprudence, folks. Can you see the conflict of interest that's going on here and why the corrupted and broken? Why the Correction Corporation of America has the largest prison population in the world is right here in Turtle Island, right here in North America, right here in what people want to call the United States.
It is not the land of the free.
It's not the land of it's land of the fee. But
yep.
Here's the sad fact. You have moms, dads, family members, and friends that are sitting in prison that do not have an injured party. Those are the first people that need to be released immediately. You have a sheriff that has a county jail that they're putting people in jail for suspended driver's license, for having a bag of weed, for crossing the street, for anything and everything that they can possibly put into the statutory legislation, these rules to these legal names onto you and creating these burdens for what? Unjust enrichment. This is not done for safety. It's done for,
and they're all committing fraud.
Yeah, and it's all by fraud. There's nowhere for these people to run. I guess that's why they built an underground city, because that's where they're going to need to run to. Because sadly, they just wouldn't stop doing this. They wouldn't just go, hey, you know, this really isn't fair to do to the American people. In fact, who is behind encouraging this loss to be done to the American people, to other people all over the world?
The Bar Association.
The Bar Association. So as an officer, the court's jurisdiction depends on the client remaining in admiralty, addressable as commercial vessel. If that legal name is considered a vessel in commerce, you're considered lost at sea. The attorney's duty to the court and the attorney duties to the client are therefore in direct conflict on the question of jurisdictional disclosure. If there's duties to the court, but you could be found, wait a minute, outside of their jurisdiction, and they don't disclose that to you, this is the most massive fraud ever to be exposed in the world today, right now.
Wait a minute. They did admit it. Joe Lombardo, who is the so-called governor of Nevada, admitted when I went to him saying, hey, you need to get involved here, he said, oh, we lack jurisdiction. Yeah. So they're allowing it to continue, which of course makes his person liable because he's aware of it and he's not doing anything about it. He's allowing it to proceed.
Let me
go ahead.
Let me finish this conflict, but have structured the entire framework so that the court's interests, admiralty jurisdiction, are systematically preserved over the client's interest in knowing their true legal position. Every client who paid legal fees while this conflict operated undisclosed was about whether to hire an officer of the Admiralty Court to represent their interests against that same court. Officers whose institutional interests are aligned with the preservation of the Admiralty jurisdiction over the public, not with the public's right to know. They can stand outside that jurisdiction.
They are not your friend.
They are not your friend. It blows my mind. It blows my mind that because they know what they're doing, folks. That's what's even more disturbing about this is they know what they're doing. They know that your biological dating about Article 9 and talking about the legal name and the organization name under what? Under the bankruptcy. Article 9 is under the bankruptcy. They're talking about secured parties.
Yeah.
It's up to you to this video. I'm not trying to be a YouTube influencer, okay? I'm not doing the, hey, you like and subscribe. It's up to you to realize the importance of what's being exposed here and make this stuff viral. Put this on your TikToks, your Telegrams. Take this very video content right here. This is me giving you permission to take it. Do not edit it. Put it on in its... Because as soon as we can create critical mass, the quicker we stop this and we release what millions of men and women who are being wrongfully held in prison, the quicker we start looking at all of the men and women who are allegedly being held in prison that allegedly have a injured party. Some of them are cut and dry. You know, the evidence is overwhelming, but there's probably a lot of them. Oh, that's right. We keep finding a lot of men and women that have been put in prison that are innocent. All right, I've got to close this up. I've got to go get with my little girl. This is your moment to shine, people. This is your moment of vindication. All right, I got to go. Get it out there, people. Get it out there.
It's going to help you in the long run. It helps everyone to share this information. Share it far and wide.
Yep, there you go. All right, got to go. Peace out, everyone.
Peace.